talk is about mentoring. Why should you mentor, and what are its benefits both to the mentor and mentee? But before we get into that, let us define mentoring. Mentoring is sharing your experience and skills, usually acquired over the years, with someone less experienced. There can be different definitions of mentoring, but this is broadly the definition we will be referring to when I talk about mentoring in this session. Why should you start mentoring? Here I'll talk about me. Why do I mentor? Because what I have felt throughout my life is that although each person is unique, we are not all that different. So I started mentoring more from the perspective of giving back to the society. And also because I did find its lack in my career. And I strongly felt that having a mentor would have made me more confident and would have also put me on the right track earlier on. And now that I'm mentoring, I do feel guilty that I have been receiving much more from this mentorship than I give it. It could be because I did not expect to get anything out of it. It was more of a drive because during the initial days, or rather years to be honest, I remember thinking if only I knew this earlier, I would have done things better. I knew I would have developed faster as a professional had I some insight or some mentor to guide me. This was one of the main reasons I started mentoring and guiding students, both on the technical data science projects and in general about industry, about confidence, about going about things and getting things done. Now, when you're a student, industry is an unknown factor, and knowing it before you enter it prepares one for many situations and hence tackle them more confidently. Now, I am a busy person, and at any given point in time, I have a few things to work upon. There are 100 things to do in life, both from the professional front and the personal front. It is a constant prioritization activity. And most of the time, there is a deadline for projects, and what needs to be done is what is deliverable. Many times, it is what is right for the project, and one cannot hog all the interesting work. And nor can I always find the opportunity to explore the latest algorithms in the project itself. So, a lot of personal exploration of the latest ideas and algorithms gets left out. This was a problem I faced constantly, and the solution to it was time, which I did not have much of. So, when I initially started mentoring students, it started out with a way of inculcating knowledge and bridging the industry academy gap, while also inculcating some confidence in them when they finally do step out into the corporate world. Now, I absolutely love it when one solution solves two or more than two things. I didn't need to teach the students. There were many online courses that would do a much better job at it than me. What I had to give was more of an approach or a framework to solve data science problems. Based on their interest, I gave them topics which I was also interested in, but I had absolutely no time to explore it. This would give them a more real world problem solving experience and would solve some of my time issues as well. I decided to learn through their time by giving them a little bit of mine. Honestly speaking, I thought this was a fantastic idea. It was a win win for all. No one was giving more than they were getting. If at all, I thought I was getting a lot more from this engagement. And what I learned is that students have an amazing grasping power. They have the motivation and drive to learn something new. This coupled with the fact that they would be looking for job offers within a year's time, they would put in a lot more effort. They have the thirst of learning, they have the energy, and most importantly, they have all the time in the world. This was the best time for them to work on something cutting edge. Not only is their brain ripe enough to absorb latest knowledge, it would be a booster for their CV. I saw a change in their confidence in just a couple of months. They know they had done something worthwhile and they could talk about it to anyone. And the fact that I had some part to play in it, I had some hand in it, made me feel very good about myself. What turned out to be an experiment turned out to be very valuable for the mentees, but much more for me as well. Not only did my core concepts get reinforced, I was able to get back to my basics. And as they say, you really learn something when you teach or explain the concepts to someone. So a lot of my core concepts also got strengthened. I spoke about exploration in terms of the latest algorithms and technologies that got left behind due to my prior commitments. I was able to do those through the mentees. Concepts like meta learning, swarm and collective intelligence, which I actually wanted to explore for a few years now, I have been able to explore them through the mentees. I've had some other realizations too. What I realized is that I need not do everything on my own. I don't have to do all the work. I don't have to read all the papers. I don't have to write all the code, which includes writing exploratory code, creating those algorithms, looking at the outcomes, debugging, and writing a paper at the end. I can take someone along this journey, and what is really required from me is direction, to give a direction. And that is where I come in. So, this has a twofold outcome. One is something that the mentee gets to work on something latest and their confidence gets built up. They're guided by an industry expert. And secondly, I got to explore topics that I did not have time for. But not only that, my confidence also got built up as a leader. I learned to delegate things. I got to understand people dynamics, which is not my strong suit, how people work when something interests them and when something does not interest them. I started to identify early signs of when the progress of a particular project is not going as expected or not as reported. These are very useful skills to be a leader. Most importantly, I learned to multitask, to work on several projects at a time, which is not something that I come across in my actual work, in actual career as such. In work, I work on a particular project. There are deliverables, work on sequential timeline. And as and when it's required, my inputs are required for other projects or proposals. I listen to them and give my inputs. But there isn't much opportunity to work at multiple projects at the same time. And through this, I learned to multitask. I learned to be able to context switch and still meaningfully contribute to the projects that I'm looking at. And this was very important for me because context switching and the way very successful leaders do it has been very fascinating for me. I could never figure out how they do it. And so I thought this was a way for me to try to figure it out with no loss to anyone as such. And I must say that it has been quite successful given that I am mentoring many students, almost 15 students on 15 different projects. I was able to I learned to context switch efficiently over the past few months and give meaningful inputs, stay on top of the projects, understand where progress is going smoothly and where my help is required more, understand when to deep dive into code with them and when to just leave a particular task to them. So, all in all these soft skills, which are very important to become a leader, to be able to lead several projects, look at multiple things together. And it's not only about projects, a lot of people aspects also come into play because eventually it is people who are working on the projects. So, all of these, I was able to hone my skills uh, while also helping someone else along the way. So far, I have spoken on a mentor's perspective. Let me now speak from a mentee's perspective. And I have been quite fortunate to have some amazing mentors in my life. And it's not necessarily only one mentor, I've had quite a few. And the kind of talks that I have had with them are not the same. And they're usually different aspects of my career, some being more technical, while others being more around the soft skill side, whereas others being more about my interest, and my career trajectory as such. And needless to say, it has helped me a lot. And a lot of what I know of mentoring and the way I performed it, I have learned from them. So, for example, I remember one of the conversations that I had um, was more around. There are a lot of things that I'm interested in, and I was trying to figure out what my next career move should be. Should I go ahead and become a leader in the software development space? Should I focus more on data science? And I was very much interested in the business aspects of the organization as well. And it was something that I couldn't move ahead with because I did not know what lied ahead. So, for example, if I wanted to understand the business aspects of our organization, uh, that's all that I was interested in. I did not know anything more about it. So, speaking about this with my mentor, who had some idea of the business aspects, he was in the operation side of the business, and he gave me pointers that I can go ahead and research further into, find out more about, which would help me understand whether I'm really interested in it or is it something I just want to know. And these sort of conversations also really help because I realized that in order to answer those specific questions, the kind of research that I needed to do, um, if I actually went ahead and did it, it meant that I was really interested in it, which did happen in some of the things, especially more towards the. I realized I was more interested in the technical aspects of sites and researching about things rather than day-to-day business operations because the leads that I was given, I did not follow up on that, and that's how I understood about my interests as well. It is not necessary that you need a mentor only when something goes wrong in your life, or say you're lost, or you don't know what's the next step to take, or you don't know how to deal with a particular situation. I found talking with my mentor has also been useful when I thought I had everything figured out, everything was going for me. And it was a scheduled talk with my mentor, and I was speaking about these things that things seem to be moving on. I'm happy with the work I'm doing. I'm happy with the people around me. Everything seems to be working well. And the mentor was still able to add to it because they actually gave me pointers on what are the other things that I can look into. So they were actually giving me pointers uh, on aspects that I could grow myself in rather than become stagnant at where I was because I was very comfortable where I was, and that was very helpful as well. So personally, I feel that I approached my mentors a little late in life simply because I did not really know, or I did not realize that I needed one. Um, and hence I'll also talk about some of the mistakes that I made while finding mentors, and hopefully that would help you as well. So all this is good, but how do you find a mentor? Well, the most important thing is to connect with people. So put yourself in situations or in positions where you would be around people, preferably including people who have more experience in the field that you are looking mentoring for. Conferences are a really good place for the same, but also your own company, right? So there would be senior folks than you who would have experience not only in the same field as you, but also from the same company. So I think they would be quite ideal to approach. And that's the second most important thing, approach. The mistake that I made while finding a mentor was that I assumed the person wouldn't be interested in talking to me. After all, time is valuable. And why would someone want to waste it by spending their time talking to me on things that I wanted to talk about, things that I wanted more insights on? And I mentioned this to my mentor once. I've had a few mentors, as I mentioned, who've guided me on different aspects. I mentioned this to my mentor once that I was a little hesitant asking for his time as well. And what he told me was quite simple: don't decide on their behalf. So if you need help with something, if you want someone to mentor you, ask them. Don't make assumptions, and most importantly, don't make a decision on their behalf. I am still quite apprehensive of asking someone of their time, but I keep in mind and I keep reminding myself not to make a decision on their behalf. Also, going by how I respond to messages that come to me on LinkedIn, because most of the mentorship request, at least definitely in this time period, comes from there. And one pattern that I have seen in myself is that I tend to reply and reply more promptly if there is a specific request. Of course, one would start off with a hi, hello. But if that is all that the message consists of and they're waiting for me to respond, that may not always happen because I have no idea what they want to talk about. And I am left wondering if they just want to keep a connection. Is there something they want from me? And in general, I cannot do short talk either. I just don't know how to do it. And so that becomes difficult for me to respond. On the other hand, if someone is out there, out with the intention right away and says, hey, I'm so and so, and I'm seeking for guidance or mentorship or inputs on how to start my journey as a data scientist, would you be able to help? This gives me something concrete to respond with, and I'm more likely to revert. So be more specific in your request, is what I would say. So once you find a mentor, how do you keep a mentor? Some tips for the mentee: respect the mentor's time. Remember, the mentor has chosen to spend this time with you from their choice instead of doing some of their hobbies or spending time with friends or family. So have a respect for their time. Go to the meeting with relevant topics and questions. Express your curiosity to learn more. This encourages the mentor also to give out ideas and reinforces that you are really there to learn and they will give in their 100%. Share your interest and expectations with the mentor. Chalk out an agenda with the mentor. This need not be for one session, it could be what you want to achieve from the mentoring sessions over a period of time, it could be over a few months, and you could chalk out a agenda or a pathway for the same. And the mentor can help you do that as well. Be open to feedback. Keep in touch with your mentors and follow up. A mentor mentee relationship is more driven by the mentee, and hence be sure to follow up and schedule a meeting whenever you do require to have a session with them. And define mentoring. This may not strike immediately at the start, but different people would have different ideas of mentoring, and it is good to talk about what mentoring means to you and what mentoring means to your mentor. What are the aspects that you want to talk about? Does it involve, is it limited only to technical aspects of your career? Or you want to discuss of anything anything else as well, career trajectory, technical topics, what is it? So be sure to define what mentoring means to each of you. Tips for a mentor: the goal should be what the mentee wants to learn and not what you want to teach. This can be a little difficult sometimes because over through experience and over years of working, a mentor would have developed some specific skills and might want to pass on those skills or teach those ideas. However, it's more fruitful if the goal is decided by the mentee and you mutually drive towards that goal. So understand their goals. They are the ones deciding the goal and you help in giving direction. A mentor needs patience and time. Remember that you are where you are over the years of experience that you have. So have the patience with the mentee to be able to grasp some of the concepts that you may be saying, and be sure that you have enough time to support them as well. Be encouraging. Give feedback for sure because this is how they would improve. Also be kind while doing it. Advise and support your mentee to the best of your ability without actually problem solving for them. So don't do spoon feeding. It involves focused listening, meaningful reflection, and sincere communication of interest. A lot of mentoring is more of listening. And be honest. I think this is the most important part, because if you're honest in what you want to say, how you want to approach the mentoring, it is seen through and it is much appreciated. In types of mentorship, there are two types of mentorship, at least in my view. One is more technically oriented, and the other is more personally oriented. When I say technically oriented, I mean you're guiding them in their career and topics that you've mastered in or have a fair bit of knowledge on. While mentoring on the personal front is more about inculcating confidence, and it is also a little more personal because it more often involves sharing personal experiences, mistakes, and failures. Do I need to become the wise Yoda before I start mentoring someone? So, Yoda is an old figure with a lot of wisdom attained through years of experience. So, here's my take on it. You can become a mentor at any stage of your life or career. The whole point is to help someone through your experiences, and at any point in time, you would have more experience compared to somebody else. So, if you're a university student, you can mentor a junior college student. If you have just joined the industry, you can mentor both the former, the university student, and the junior college student. If you have been in the industry for some time, you can mentor all the three earlier students or someone who's just joined the industry. And eventually, if you decide to start your own company, you can seek for a mentor who would guide you through the whole process. Now, as a mentee seeking for a mentor, do not shy away. Don't be scared or fearful, just ask. At the most, they may not be able to mentor you, and most of the time, the constraint is time. So it's okay. Respect that and ask somebody else who will be able to make that time for you. But it is very rare that a mentor will approach you, because a mentor mentee relationship is driven by the mentee. So at any point in time, you have something to share that would benefit someone, and you can start mentoring. Sharing failures and mistakes is something that helps in relating more with the other person, the mentor, as a human being rather than someone who is an expert and has achieved so much in their life. It also takes courage on the part of the mentor to be comfortable to be able to share their failures and experiences. I'll talk about two of my conversations which I had with my mentees. I was mentoring them not on the technical front as such, but in general on how to navigate through their career and other aspects. So the first conversation went something like this. The mentee asks me, "Your journey seems very interesting. Would you elaborate on it, and what were your challenges?" So here I was thinking to myself, I have never evaluated myself. I do yearly reviews on what I have achieved, what I want to achieve, what do I need to do to get to what I want to achieve. I never really reflected on what challenges I faced in the gone year or in my career in general. So I started to describe my journey to the mentee, which went something like this. I was almost going to become a doctor, and then family shifted to India, and I took admissions in computer science engineering. So quite a jump from applying to become a doctor to becoming an engineer. But that's all right. I was okay with it because I like the maths and sciences equally. I took admissions in computer engineering, and then later on, I actually shifted to electronics and telecommunications engineering. So I was happy I at least realized that computers was not all that I wanted to do. Although in the last year, we did have a subject called AI, which I was quite interested in. I later on joined a company with the work profile of a business analyst, which was very similar to a data scientist. And I figured out that I definitely wanted to pursue machine learning, and I did my master's in the same. So I was going to join a company which is in the same area, but I ended up joining ThoughtWorks as a developer. Why? Because I really liked the company's culture. So I thought having a programming experience for a year or two would only help to my data science career as well. So I later on I did realize I did want to switch to data science. Software development was not quite something for me. But until then, I continued doing POCs, working on proposals, taking sessions in the company on data science for upskilling folks. And that's how I kept in touch with my data science as well. And that was long time back, and I'm very happy doing what I'm doing now. This was the short version of my story, and I still realized that I hadn't really answered her question. So after going through a few incidents in my head, this is what I told her. I realized that I was mediocre at software programming. And this was quite a challenge for me because until then I had excelled at whatever I picked up. Even literature and languages was never my strong suit. I always knew that I was better as a data scientist than I was as a software application developer, but I never thought I would really state it as a challenge. So, this was one conversation that enlightened to me something about myself. There was another conversation where one of my mentees, who is from Africa, was trying to start a data science community in her area and was trying to figure things out. So she tells me, "You have achieved so much in life. How did you manage all of this?" And here I was thinking, have I? So I told her that, well, I did not do them all parallelly or together. These are things that have happened over the years, and most of them one after the other. I picked up something and I finished it. And that's when I realized something. I realized that I was uncovering certain things about myself. Pick something and finish it. Simple, right? And I was looking at the stack of half done paintings and prepared canvases next to my study, which are still lying around. And I realized finishing it is a trick. A nice little piece of advice I should continue to follow myself. I guess I guess just telling someone that you also made mistakes and you still survive is enough to give them confidence to sustain in their pursuit. And if nothing else, I felt useful. I was being useful to another human being, and this was important for me because being a professional in the industry, I did not see my work directly having an impact on people or improving their quality of life. So, this was a way for me to feel worthy, and I thought everyone involved in it benefits. So, it was a win win situation.